Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. La'asok b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah. La'asok b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah. Okay, we're going to have some fun. We always have fun. This is a fun place. So, there's a man named, I believe in the 1400s, 1500s, might have to look up his dates. He only lives to about 38 years old. His name is Isaac Luria, Rabbi Isaac Luria. He's called Ha'ari. A-R-I, the word Ari means lion. It is also an acronym for the Elohai Rabbi Yitzchak, the Holy Rabbi Isaac, or the Ashkenazi Rabbi Isaac, because he's Ashkenazi. He lives in Sfat. And when people talk about Kabbalah today, they are talking about Lurianic Kabbalah. Okay. Originally, there's only, thank you so much, there's only two questions. How and why did God create the world? How and why does God sustain the world? Everything else is details, right? How and why did God create the world is called Ma'aseh Bereshit, the workings of creation. How and why does God sustain the world is called Ma'aseh Merkavah, the workings of the chariot, as described in the first chapter of the book of Ezekiel, which is the heavenly chariot, which sustains the world. Okay. And there are all these different schools that are based, different techniques that are and teachings that come about to answer those two questions. How and why did God create it? How and why does God sustain it? So do you remember the very first class we talked about breaking apart the word Bereshit, right? Creation. That's Ma'aseh Bereshit. How and why did God create the universe? Okay. Luria takes all the information from both of those traditions and he integrates it together. And Luria, this then becomes known as Lurianic Kabbalah. When someone says they're studying Kabbalah, you get to take the money.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'll take it.
When someone says they're learning Kabbalah, what they typically mean is they're learning what Luria taught, right? His integration of things. Now, some pieces to understand in that are that Luria understood, and it was coming from experience of having experienced both of these different questions at a deep, deep level. But if you just learn it as this is that energy center, this is that energy center, this is how the pathway is, et cetera, all you're really doing is learning dogma, which is the problem with teaching Kabbalah. So I don't even like to call it Kabbalah. Say it's Jewish mysticism. Huh, I got a stain on this. Looks like blood. Huh. And what is Jewish mysticism? First of all, it's integrated with Jewish meditation. Meditation is we're going to define it in a minute, but it's not, we have our own systems of meditation. We don't sit in a zazen position or a lotus position going home. We have our own systems of meditation. There's a wonderful book called Jewish Meditation by Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan. I think it's the best book ever written on an introduction to Jewish meditation and Jewish meditative techniques. Okay. So,
Do you have it here?
we're all the way. I know I have it at the house, but we're in the middle of kind of reorganizing the library, so I'm not sure where, if that makes sense. Probably do. I definitely have it at home. I have a couple of copies at home. It's easily available on Amazon. It's a classic for 45 years. So we're going to look at this from a different perspective and try and build on real relationships. So let's talk about what happens in a mystical experience. Mysticism itself is a very difficult word to define. In Hebrew, we have the word Yehud, okay, which means unification. If God is infinite, then we are always unified with God, right? Let's think about this intellectually. If God is infinite, you can't be closer or farther away from God, right? All you can be is more aware of your relationship with God. Following that? Okay. So when people says, "Oh, he's closer to God," that's a load of basura. Okay, to use a Yiddish expression. When someone says that, by definition, they're missing the point, aren't they? He's holier than me. By definition, that's an impossibility, isn't it? All that can happen is that there are more and more veils that prevent us from being aware of what's going on. Which of you play a musical instrument? Anyone play a musical instrument? What do you play? Guitar. Okay, what do you play?
Long time ago.
And
Violin.
okay,
Harmonica.
so you don't play an instrument.
I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone who doesn't play an instrument, you hear more in a symphony than someone who does, unless they've trained themselves to listen, right? I don't play guitar. It's one of the instruments I don't play. I play a lot of them, but that's one of the ones I don't play. So I can appreciate the beauty of Segovia or Santana, but someone who actually plays guitar has a different relationship to it because they understand the technique, right? Moreover, someone who understands music understands how to create different feelings and different relationships through the music, right? So there's, the major scale, bum 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 bum, right? That's a very marching type of scale. It's a very upbeat type of scale. And then there's the minor scale, bum 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 bum. Okay, it's more of a plaintive or a sorrowful or a sad. By the way, the only national anthem in the world that is in a minor key is Hatikva. Just as a piece.
Great symphony.
Okay, it's the only piece, only one. So, if you want to create a certain feeling and you know about music, you have more control. And everything is like that. All of life is like that. Okay. Our senses naturally have what's called synesthesia when we're in a heightened state of awareness. Sounds, colors, sight, taste, touch, they're all integrated. A baby sees colors, right? Sees sounds. When you're in a highly meditative state, that happens. When you are on a hallucinogen, that might happen, right? Those kind of things. So we're going to define meditation as achieving a unitary state of being or a heightened state of awareness, right? And what happens neurophysiologically is that the sympathetic and parasympathetic systems shut down in this heightened state of awareness, and our hippocampus, which is back here, becomes 400% more active. There's wonderful work that's been done. The best book for lay people is a book by two University of Pennsylvania neurophysiologists. It's called The Mystical Mind by De Achille and Newberg. Okay? Fabulous book. And they really go into what happens in someone's neurochemistry. Now, we all naturally get to that place of Yehud. All right? We naturally get there because anytime that happens in our brain chemistry, we're there. Right? So that's what happens when we're in the zone, whether it's through music or dance or athletics or breathing. If you have ever had an orgasm, you have meditated. That's why, Ed, I'm pretty sure when you say you can't meditate, I'm pretty sure that you have been successful with that.
Oh, that one time, yeah.
How many years have you been married?
60.
I'm thinking it better be more than one time. Okay.
Well, I have two children. Yeah, you're right.
Okay. I'm at least twice, right?
Yeah.
If we've ever been in the zone in athletics. Now, there's two types of meditation in Judaism. Okay, one is called hitbodedut or hisbodedus. It comes from the root boded and bod, meaning to both be alone and to be a branch. The idea that you are like a branch and you are alone on the one hand, on the other hand, you are connected to the leaves, the fruit, the other branches, the tree, the roots, and everything else in the universe, right? A branch is connected to everything, but it's also alone. It's called hisbodedus. Hidlahavut, and these are both self-reflexive words, like in Kaddish that goes yikadal, yikadash. Anything that goes ita'e is a self-reflexive word, conjugation of a word. Hidlahavut means to be self-inflamed. That would be an orgasm. That would be dancing in ecstasy, drumming, singing in ecstasy. Okay? So those are the two types that we have, and we have different techniques for both that are very clear. Most of our liturgy, in fact, our entire service, is actually meant to put us in an altered state of consciousness. Think about why and how. If we were alive in the time of the temple, right? We're going to go into the temple now. We go through all these different gates and we get to the temple, and there's the Levites singing, and there's these sacrifices going on, and there's these smoke going on over here, and there's this the smoke of the incense over here, and this music, and this great shamanic drama, right? And we would be overwhelmed. And the spectacular feng shui, for lack of a better term, of the sacred architecture of the building, all of it adds for us to have this overwhelming feeling of awe, right? When they created the Siddur, they created the prayers, they reverse engineered, as we've talked about, and created the prayers so that ideally, if you really understand the prayers and you let them move through you, by the time we get to the Amidah and the Torah service, we can be in the same place. Okay? So the whole service is a meditative experience at its deepest of levels. Everyone with me so far? No question, just
I
pop in.
didn't understand the two different types of meditation.
Okay, so there's the meditation where you're going very quietly inward, right?
Mhm.
You're becoming alone like a branch. And then there's the meditation where you're exploding outward in passion. And, you're drumming, you're dancing.
Oh, okay, got it.
Okay?
One is very quiet.
One goes
internal.
in, the idea that if I can go inward infinitely, I am connected to all of infinity. The other goes outward, the idea being that if I can go outward, it also connects to the infinity going outward, which connects me to all infinity. Infinity equals infinity. Okay? With me on this? Okay. So we have these kind of concepts and techniques to do this, and we have understandings to do it. And it's all based, I've said this repeatedly, it's all based, Orlando, try not to lose anyone when you do.
Your phone?
Oh, no, you're copying everything, right?
No, I already did.
Oh, wow. How'd you do that?
Huh?
How did you do that?
Just export it. That's it.
And you exported all my...
Yeah.
He's good.
I would have done it one at a time. I'd be here till Thursday doing it. Okay.
Yeah.
So then I just have to, you can send me the list and I can just click which ones we should. Okay.
Yeah, you send me. Yeah. Basically, you send it to me through an CD. All the.
Okay, we'll figure this out because I'm so confused. Okay, so all of this, the skeleton key that opens up Judaism is the sacred name of Yud, He, Vav, and He, right? And if you take those four letters and you take them vertically, they look like the red letters there. The Yud, right? The Yud is this, the He, the Vav, and the He. Okay, and I'll do it right here just to make it a little easier. And it looks like a person. Okay, now, as a structure, forgetting about any other meaning, just as an architectural structure, what's the foundation of that structure? Where's the foundation point?
The bottom head.
Here?
The two legs. Where the
Okay,
two legs.
but I could remove one leg, and the structure still would stand. It would be leaning, but it would still stand, right?
Yeah.
Right there. If I take that out, whole thing goes kapots, right? With me? Yes? Okay. So that place where it intersects, which is our genital area, is called yesod, which means foundation. Now, if you were to go to a Kabbalah class at the Kabbalah Center, they would say this is called yesod. It means foundation. And someone would probably say it's because your sexual energy is your creative energy and it's the foundation of your life. That's not why it's called yesod. It's called because it's the foundation of the structure. Thank you. That structure is who we are, and it's the structure of the universe. So it's both a microcosmic structure within us and a macrocosmic structure. Tell me when you get lost, okay? I expect people to get lost, so tell me when you get lost.
What's the microscopic?
There's a microcosmic, which is us,
Oh, okay.
and the macrocosmic, which is the universe,
Okay.
okay? And everything builds on itself, and you can see how you can overlay a human being onto it, right? So it says in Sefer Yetzirah, which is attributed to our father Abraham, that with 10 sphirot, with 10 points, with 10 wheels, life is created. And they can be connected in 22 ways. So let's watch this for a minute. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. With me? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Who am I missing? And there we go, 22. 22 pathways. 10 digits, 0 through 9, 22 Hebrew letters. The entire universe is created through the letters and the numbers. And it looks like a ladder, doesn't it? Right? That's called Jacob's ladder. Remember what we learned a long, long time ago. We learned this idea that Jacob has a dream and he sees a ladder and the angels are ascending and descending. Remember that?
Yeah.
This is Jacob's ladder. This is the ladder through which we can ascend to the heavens. The angels go up and down. Right? 22 pathways and 10 points. Make sure I get it. Okay. And it kind of fits with this. Now remember, there's one rule. Never laugh. I think maybe I do have to use red because the screen is just not red enough.
It's gonna be hard to follow that rule tonight.
Oh, it's going to be harder than you realize. And there's your human body overlaying the 10 sphirot, 22 pathways. 3 of the sphirot are outside of us. Okay? Catch our crown and on either side. And the whole balance is right there, right? This is the balance point. It's called Tiferet, which means harmony or balance. In martial arts, it's called the Hara. It's your solar plexus, center of your body. Each of these things has a different place and a different purpose. And you can see right here, this is where your genitalia region is yesod. And again, if I overlay on that, yud, hey, vav, hey. Everyone with me, or did I lose you?
So did Ari just come up with
No.
this?
He took this from all sorts of different places that he overlaid everything over together. His genius was integrating all of it. It was in different places.
Different places.
In text. And it's from Sefer HaBia here, Sefer Yetzirah, both of which are over 2,000 years old. And in text, Talmud, in our Siddur. Okay, there is a point in our prayer service where we call out the 7 sphirot, or wheels, or energy centers in our body. When the Torah comes out, Lecha Adonai Hagedula V'Hagevura V'Hatiferet V'Hanetzach V'Hahod. Right? Ki Kol Bashamayim, everything in heaven is Yesod. Uvaretz, and that's down there. Okay? This is just an introduction into stuff. So we're not going to go into what all these mean, but The idea is that everything overlays on everything else. So you're seeing a lot of filters, a lot of veils. But if you can take those veils, those filters, and they seem like they're all interwoven in such a way that you can't make sense. But when you can separate them out and you understand them, then it becomes like this. You can really have an experience. Does that make sense to everybody? Yes? Yes? Okay. You probably deal with this in a different way than what you do, right? In a different way, but a similar way. Okay? So all of this is part of it. And we say that those 4 letters, okay, so I'm going to erase this fabulous drawing because I really don't want to have it up here that long. Remember, we don't laugh at my art. And we're going to go back to the idea of the Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. These correspond to the 4 worlds. Okay? Remember, so there's always 4 plus 1. If you look at a Yud in calligraphy of the Torah, it looks like this. So it goes up like that. This little point up there that's infinitesimally small is called the Kutz of the Yud. It's the infinitesimally small place where God is touching Adam in the Sistine Chapel. Is he touching? Is he not touching? Okay. So we're going to talk, that's the extra 5th. And if we look at our service, our liturgy, our daily service has 4 parts plus a hidden 5th 3 times a week. Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, we have Torah service. If you look at how many cups of Passover wine, how many cups are there?
4.
No. 4 plus 1.
Oh,
Elijah's.
Elijah.
How many questions are there?
4.
No. 4 plus 1. First question is why is this night different from all other nights? And then you have the 4 questions, right? How many children are there, right? In the traditional Haggadah, there's 4 plus 1. Because in a traditional Haggadah, you have the wise son, then for a paragraph, and then a paragraph for the wicked son, and then a paragraph for the simple son, and then a paragraph for the one who's unable to inquire, and then there's a big blank space. And I learned this from Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz, that this is the 5 generations of Jews that need to understand Passover. I spent 3 hours, and he spent 3 hours lecturing on this. It was amazing. But Steinsaltz, do you know who Steinsaltz was? Adin Steinsaltz translated and did commentary on the Talmud. It is supposedly he was one of the 10 most brilliant men of the 20th century. I don't know if this is true or just an urban myth that he could learn a foreign language by studying the book of Genesis in that language. I don't know if that's true or just an urban myth, but let's just say he was brilliant. 3 hours on this concept, that there are 4 plus 1 paragraphs of the children. The first generation knows the rituals and knows why we do it. He has a son, and his son rebels. Okay, so his son's not doing as much Judaism in the house. His grandson, the grandson's not getting that much Judaism in the house, but he gets it from grandpa all the time, right? The wise son, grandpa dies. The wicked son is now the patriarch. He still does a full Seder for Pesach. But his son, who was simple, really doesn't know that much as a father. So Judaism's not in his house, in his child's house at all. That's going to be the one who's unable to inquire, right? So, but the patriarch, the wicked son, still does the Seder just in honor of his father. He says, we were slaves, we were free, now let's eat. That's the amount of Judaism that the one who's unable to inquire gets. When he dies and the simple son becomes the patriarch, there is no Passover Seder because he hasn't been raised to do that. And his grandson, the simple son's son, doesn't even know Passover exists, and that's why there's a blank spot. Okay? 4 plus 1. It's constant. This is the theme of Judaism. This is the skeleton key, is this name. So the bottom hay is the world of Asiyah, of making. I'm going to explain this in a minute. The Vav is the world of Yetzirah, of forming. The top hay is the world of Bria, or creating. And the Yud is Atzilut or emanation. What does that mean? In a lot of traditions, this analogy is given, and certainly in our tradition. Anyone ever go to Disneyland or Alvera Street and see those blown glass animals? Remember the blown glass animals they used to make? That you could go and there's I assume there's still Disneyland or Alvera Street. I haven't been in years, but you could buy little blown glass animals and you could see the guy blowing them. So here's the little blown glass elephant. Okay. But let's back up how he's created. At one point he's there and he's separate, but before that he's connected to the glass and he's being formed. And before that it's just a glass and he's being created. And before that is the glass blower's breath. And the Adam Kadmon, the hidden fifth, is actually the glass blower's intention to even do this creation. Let me say it again, going from the glass blower has an intention, which is the kutz of the yud. He starts to emanate his breath. That's the yud, right? It starts to create and blow the glass out. That's creation, or the top hay. He starts to form it. That's yetzirah, or formation. And then when it's all done, he breaks it off and it stands on its own, and that's the world of making. That analogy makes sense to everybody? Okay, so we often, in Sufism, they talk about, who says this? It's not Rumi. It's another Sufi mystic who says, Kabir, it's Kabir, who says, fall toward the glass blower's breath. So we're little animals, we're little blown glass animals, but we're still, if we're aware, we're still connected to the glass, and we can get all the way back up to 2. We can go backwards. With me on this? Yes? Okay. So, or simply put, in our liturgical service, the first part, the Birkat HaShachar, the morning blessings, are purely physical prayers. Thank you, God, for letting me wash my hands. Thank you for letting me see. Thank you for all those things. The next level is a level where it's physical with a little bit of spiritual. They're hymns, praising God, that I can blow trumpet or whatever. The next level is the Shema and its blessings, which are spiritual with a little physical. Then the fourth level is the Amidah, which is purely spiritual, which is why we do it with our feet together, so that we are like angels. And then 3 days a week we get Torah service. Everything goes back to this. Everything goes back to this. All right? Any questions so far? So we're just giving it a kind of looking at this, an overview of understanding. Now this,
One question: when you say, okay, everything is physical at the morning prayer, is that represented by the bottom hay?
by the bottom hay, the world of
And
Asiyah.
so we're always going up.
And then what do we have? After we're all done with the Torah service, we have the Elenu to bring us back down into this world. I'm taking upon myself everything I've learned and walking it in the world. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
It's not, none of this is coincidence. Now, in the breaks in each of these, between each of these parts, you have a Kaddish. Kaddish to Rabbanan, Kaddish is not just about mourners Kaddish. A Kaddish for the teachers, a half Kaddish or a Hatzi Kaddish, all these different Kaddish. Why? Because the Kaddish says God has made God's self greater. God has made God's self more holy. God has uplifted God's self. In other words, we affect God. Okay? And that's where we're different than the little blown glass elephant, because we affect the glass blower. Kaddish is a transitionary prayer. That's why we say Kaddish when someone dies. Make sense? So you have in between each of those places, because it doesn't just go from here to here. You have a transitionary prayer that kind of guides you as you move from one to the other. And that's the structure of our service. So you see how, if you're really aware of the service, how powerful it can be. How really powerful it can be. Okay. So this is just sort of an overview of when we talk about, and this goes into a lot of stuff. Please bring these next week as well. Okay? All this, because there's a lot of stuff in this handout. And here you have that image of the Yud Hey Vav and Hey on the last page. You remember we talked about gematria, the numerical value of letters? And the numerical value of the word Yud Hey Vav and Hey is 26. Aleph, do you remember this? We can break apart into a Vav and 2 Yuds. right? A big long line and two little lines, which also has the value of 26. The idea that we find God in true silence. Aleph is the only silent letter. Okay, that doesn't mean without noise. It means silence. Everything so far. Is this all working so far? Okay. There's a great story that a 10-year-old is very smart. He goes to college. The other college kids make fun of him. They say, if you're so smart, we'll give you $1 if you can show us where God is. He says, I'll give you $10 if you can show me where God isn't. God is the connective tissue, the relationship. On a subatomic level, there is no difference from where my body ends, the space begins, the table begins, the space begins, and your body begins. Right? Does that make sense? So everything actually is connected. Now, when you feel an emotion, fear, love, passion, where's the first place you typically feel it? Do you feel it in your arm? Do you feel it in your leg? Where do you feel it?
Just.
In your solar plexus.
Yeah.
Right here, right? Feeling in that pit of my stomach, we call it. Or at the flutters of my tummy, right? This is the place of harmony, the ferret. Now, if you look at that, I'm going to have to read you a drawing here. So if we go back and we look at those 10 points, right? And we go through the connections. Right? We have these connections. Everything is connected to this point right here, isn't it? To ferret. Right here. Which means that's a place we connect to the world. That's why we feel things there. How much do we feel things there? Do we have a soda here? Do we have a soda? Would you pour a little shot of may I please have a bottle of water and a little shot of tequila or scotch or some sort of alcohol? Okay, some sort of hard alcohol. You know about reflexology. How many of you know about reflexology? Okay. How would you define reflexology?
That those energies resonate together.
And if something's good for you, you're stronger. And if something's bad for you, you're weaker. Right? That's reflexology testing, right? Okay. And I'm going to borrow you. Come on over here and stand up.
He did this once with a thing on.
Oh, yeah.
Did we do this already? I don't remember.
I don't know.
We
You,
whispered in his ear.
We did the muscle.
Okay, so we did do muscle testing.
Yes.
Okay. So that's a way of knowing that. Never mind, Orlando. I don't remember we did it. So that's a way how we're all connected. Okay. I don't know. Never mind it.
tequila does sound good.
Yeah. Bring the tequila.
I don't remember. Can we all try this?
You don't remember? Do you remember? Okay. So never mind. We don't need any alcohol or water. So I don't remember what I do and don't do this challenge. So what else connects us all? Are we breathing the same air? Breath connects us, doesn't it? Where does your breath come from? You say chest. What do you say? You probably say something very different.
Yeah, breath is a sympathetic. I mean, it's a natural phenomenon. With it's triggered by your brain. Actually, it really is. Where does the breath go? That's a different question.
All right, how do we breathe? Someone explain to me the process of breathing.
The diaphragm has to depress in order for the lungs to fill with air.
So then we don't breathe. We cause a vacuum to be created that then gets filled.
Okay.
Right? We actually don't breathe, do we? We cause, okay, it's a matter of reframing. How many of you think you're standing or sitting on the earth right now? That's right?
Well, we're connected.
No, you're hanging from the earth, kept there by gravity. Right? The earth is a ball and we're all hanging from it, aren't we? But we interact with the world as if we are standing on the world. as opposed to, in reality, we are hanging from the earth. As one person once said, gravity is proof of God's love. Okay? We don't breathe. We create the space that God fills then. God fills that vacuum. Right? We create the space and then it fills. Do you see the difference? This is when we start to understand Jewish mysticism. We are lekabel, we are receiving. We don't inhale. We are breathed into. Now, the word for breath and the word for soul, three of those words are the same. Nefesh, ruach, and neshama. Nefesh is the physical aspect of the soul. Ruach is the mental, emotional aspect of the soul. Neshama is the spiritual aspect of the soul. There are two other levels that we cannot access from this world with any consciousness, okay? But those are the three in this world, right? And those words also all mean breath, okay? So what is the mistake? So you've been singing in a group for how many years? Many,
but over about 37 years.
okay? And what's the mistake? Someone comes in and they've never sung in a choir before. And where do they breathe from? Their chest.
Their chest, their shoulders, whatever it is, but they're breathing incorrectly usually.
Because where should they be breathing from? Belly breathing, right? You fill up a glass of water from the bottom up. So you fill the bottom third of the
The
lobe up.
vacuum they create is much too high if we're creating vacuums. The vacuum down below is muscles that open, allow the diaphragm to come down and the air to
And
come
the
up.
lungs to fill. As opposed to I'm just trying to do this with my chest, I'm not going to create the same amount of power. How is it the cantonate lamb has the ability to sing with an entire symphony without a microphone? Right? Because he knows how to breathe. So breath is highly, highly important. Did we go over triangle breathing? I don't remember. No, you remember we did. Okay. So there's a technique called triangle breathing, which is reframing just the way I just said. I'm not standing on the world. I'm hanging from it. Right? Just as I'm not breathing, I'm being breathed. I don't inhale, God exhales into me. I don't exhale, God takes the breath from me. Okay? And what's the most natural way to breathe? If I ask you right now to hold your breath, what are you going to do? Show me how you hold your breath.
Inhale. Inhale first.
Okay? The natural way to hold your breath is to exhale. Who's been around a newborn baby? Or someone dying? And how do they breathe? And there's a pause between the exhale and the inhale. The pause gets longer and longer. That's how we know when someone is getting closer to dying. When someone's first born, the baby is like, breathe. And then their breathing becomes more conscious. So when we're holding our breath, if the lung's empty, God's holding God's breath, right? So when I am inhaling, I'm really not inhaling, God's blowing into me. When God takes the breath from me, I'm exhaling. And then we both hold at the same time. When you can be conscious that you're never breathing, but in fact are always receiving mouth-to-mouth resuscitation from the divine, these two triangles overlay each other. And they create an image.
Whoa.
Okay? What's that called?
It's called the Shield of David.
The Magen David, the shield of David. Why? Because David is a singer. He understands breath. He's a flute player. He understands breath. He's a harpist. He understands music. He understands that my shield is my connection with God. That is my shield. Not a gun or a tank. That is the shield.
But that shield happens to really protect the image that you created because the yud is protected.
Yep. Okay. All overlays, doesn't it?
Right.
So our breath is a way of understanding to be more aware so that when we reframe how we interact with the world, we start to be in sync with God. That then, when we are in that awareness where our triangles are overlaid, that changes our neurochemistry. It becomes in a heightened state of awareness. We are in the zone, whatever you want to call it. Hispodadus, we are alone. We are like a branch, and yet we are connected to everything. So that puts a different understanding of what meditation is, doesn't it? Now, you can't really study Jewish mysticism. And when you're like that, you understand Yehud because you're unified, right? Unification. Let me say Yehud. They're Reb Zalman Schachter Shalomi of blessed memory used to say, they're Kabbalists and they're Kabbalologists. A Kabbalologist is like Gershom Scholem, great scholar to everything about all the Sphira, all the different schools of mysticism, can tell you everything. But it's all from here. Because he studied everything, he knows everything about this. But if you don't experience it, then is it real or is it just dogma? Okay? So everything becomes a practice. Everything becomes a part of that. Right? So we're going to do a little bit right now of understanding in a different experiential way meditation. Now, first thing is, if I want to let myself be breathed fully, I need to create a vessel that allows me to breathe fully, right? To receive God's breath. Everyone with me? So, can I be like this? Or is that going to prevent me from filling the lower lobes of my lungs? Can I have my arms crossed or my legs crossed? That's all that I can, but it's going to make it harder, isn't it? Right? Everyone with me on this? Now, do I need glasses? No, because they make me focus on what? This out there, the illusion out there, as opposed to the reality of my relationship with God. Make sense to everyone? I'm going to watch. Tell me what a watch is. So just tell me, what is a watch?
Just an instrument to tell the time.
An instrument. Okay, and what is time?
Time is nothing more than the passage of moment to moment. I mean,
So time is a construct our minds have created to be able to measure or to be able to function moment to moment. But in fact, when you're in that place of the Magen David, when you're in that place of a heightened state of awareness, is there time? Doesn't exist. Time is based on relationship, isn't it? Right? Does that make sense to everyone? It's an illusion that we have used to be able to function together in this world. But in fact, if you are making love on your honeymoon with the man or woman you love more than anything in the universe, that 15 minutes, 30 minutes, hour, 2 hours, or whatever goes like that, doesn't it? Now, the same 15 minutes with a boring rabbi or a boring professor feels like 4 hours, doesn't it?
forever.
Forever.
Yes.
Hey, look, I always say that no one ever said, I wish the rabbi had said more. Okay, you notice that my high holiday sermons don't last an hour? Have you noticed that? No one ever said, I wish you'd say, if I don't do a certain length, then people think I'm just kind of copping out. But no one, I just don't think anyone ever said, boy, I wish the rabbi had given me more quotes from Rambam and Rashi. And I've never heard that.
Or I wish Benny had started playing already, right?
Right? So the idea is that time is something, the concept of monitoring time is something that takes us away from being present in the moment. Now, there's a phrase that is used throughout the Torah and the Bible. God asks Ayacha. It means, where do you stand? And Adam, Abraham, Noah, Jacob, Hezekiah, they all say Hineni, which means I am present. I would contend that life is always asking all of us, where do we stand? And the people we remember as having made a difference were the ones who knew where they stood, had the courage and willingness to express it. Even though the sands are always shifting. So you're never standing just in one place. How many of you feel like you're present right now? Feel like you're pretty present? Okay, I'm going to ask for your forgiveness. Ha! Get a little jump inside. Guess you weren't quite as present as you thought. The idea is that the techniques and tools and technologies that we use in Judaism are to help us become more aware of our relationship with God, to take those interwovens and kind of change the gears so we can see, so we can remove the veils and be more aware of that relationship we have with God. And Judaism's all about that. Why do you wear a yarmulke?
There is a passage that said, I think a passage that there's nothing that says you should keep your head covered.
Not in the Torah. So why do you wear a yarmulke?
That you're under God.
Reminds you to be that there's something above you. Where do we put the yarmulke? On the soft spot of our head. Right where our soul enters. Right? It's not just a reminder. I was asked recently by someone, they said they'd read an article and they said, Rabbi, does it make a difference what kind or color yarmulke I wear? And the answer is absolutely. Absolutely. Because think about it for a minute, right? Here's your little kepi. Here, I'll have him smoking a cigar. Okay? There's your little kepi. And so here's your yarmulke. And here's all God's stuff, right? It is both a filter and a funnel so that God's stuff can come in here, right? You're aware that something's above you and you're creating a space, right? Our job is we keep trying to create a space, right? Well, different colors allow different things to come in, don't they? And certain colors let everything in, and certain black doesn't let anything in, does it? You've never seen me in a black yarmulke. See dark blue. Because again, if we do color therapy in reflexology, so I'm going to borrow you for saying, you're wearing a black yarmulke back there?
There's some silver on it. No, it's
Okay,
not.
you're wearing a solid black.
Yes.
Come on over here. Take off your watch. And Melinda, do we have a white or light blue yarmulke? Okay.
When you say the soft spot, do you mean right at the top of the head?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because a
Where the-
lot of people wear it further back.
That's because it falls further back.
Good reason.
Jewish terrorism. Okay, come on over here. White. White's great. Okay, just watch the difference. Okay, put down your hands. Put down your arms. Watch is off. Put your hand up. Just gonna do some testing. Just put your arm up. You know, extend it out this way. Hold it up. Don't let me push down. I'm gonna push down, but don't let me come down. Hold it up strong. Okay. Switch. That's right. Hold it strong. Switch. Then we're going to go back to the black and watch the difference. Hold it strong.
No, it goes down.
You look good in white too.
Yeah. He does. Oh, thanks.
Right.
I know where that comes from. Magic Castle. I know
Magic
what he's.
Castle. No, it's true. It's not the Magic Castle. It's God's magic. So there's a reason that and if I was to ask you that if you want to feel, if you felt really kind of down, you felt with low energy, what color would really help you brighten up and wake you up? White might. White lets everything in. What else?
Red.
Red, orange.
Yellow.
Okay, yellow. What if you wanted to be kind of calm? You might have a blue or a green or burgundy, right? All those kind of things. So it does make a difference, and everything makes a difference. So you've never seen me in a black yarmulke, and the only black hat that I wear was one that was from Rabbi Schwartzy that he made that it just happened to have, they were made in black that say Chai on it for the Chai Center. So when I want to connect with Schwartzy, I'll wear that. Everything has a meaning, doesn't it?
Well, all the Hasidim run around with nothing but black hats.
How about that?
Okay.
Not all of them.
All right.
The Breslov Hasidim walk around with white. But they wear black in mourning for the temple. I'm not in mourning for the temple. I'm in hope that the temple will be rebuilt. I have faith it will be, but I'm not in mourning for the temple, because if the temple, if we look at it from a macrocosmic point of view, if the temple is not destroyed, Judaism does not exist right now, does it? If every Jew was in Israel, that means if you clear out Israel, you clear out every Jew, don't you, God forbid? But because the temple is destroyed, we spread all over the world. Not so easy to destroy us then. Make sense?
You're saying that's almost better for Judaism at this time in history, right?
No, at that time in history.
Oh,
At that time in history. Our only home is Israel. It's one place that we are safe. And the world hates us. I don't know how many of you realize or read the emails that I don't know if
Yeah.
people read the emails I send out or not. I have no idea.
I do.
But yesterday we rescue hostages, and today we're being castigated by the world for rescuing hostages.
That's right.
How dare we?
Spoiled their plans.
How dare we?
When you wrote what Hamas put to the press, that's insanity.
It's more insanity what the UN has done
Yeah.
and what Biden has done.
Yep.
Okay. So, and not Biden, but Blinken and
Lincoln
Feiner.
and Biden. How can a Jewish man do that?
I just wrote an article. I got to get published somewhere because I don't want to publish it where I normally publish, because it's much more theological. That we should, I believe, even though it has no practical value, on a certain level has no teeth, I believe that the rabbis, all the rabbis in the world, should say, Tony Blinken and Jonathan Feiner are put in a harem. They're excommunicated. They are not Jews. They can't be buried in a Jewish cemetery. They are not Jews until they make tshuva for what they've been doing. Okay. Tony Blinken showed up in our synagogue and said, "I'd like to be called to Torah." I would say, "Get out. You got some explaining to do, Lucy. And beyond that, you got some tshuva to make. You do not get called to Torah." I really do believe that what they have done is betrayed the Jewish people. Biden's not a Jew. Okay, people who are not Jews are one thing, but what they've done is very sad to me. So, but we digress. So the point is that there's all this kind of stuff going on, and everything is related to everything. And I think it's more important to teach this stuff from that perspective, to understand a larger viewing perspective, because otherwise, I think the way that Jewish mysticism is taught 95% of the time, 98% of the time to people in America or people who speak English is they're missing the point. Do this, you'll be holier than you were. How is that possible? Do this, you'll be closer to God. How is that possible? Do this because I tell you this is what this means, this is what this means. That's denying what my experience is. The point is that we need to have our own experience. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is have our own experience. So I'm going to ask that you take off all your glasses. You don't need them. You don't need any watch. Okay. And we want to sit up straight. Okay. Good posture. It's a pain in the neck. I have teenagers, and I constantly am on them about having good posture. And I try to explain to them, but they're at the age where they don't listen to dad. I'm hopeful that in a few years they'll realize why dad was a lot smarter than we realized he was. Like when they were younger, they listened to daddy. Now they're in that place where they don't want to listen. But that when you are in this position, you can breathe better. If you can breathe, because you can create a bigger vacuum. If you can breathe better, that means you have more energy for your body and for your brain. So if you want to excel, and you're doing your schoolwork, should you be lying on your bed typing on your computer? Is that the most productive use? Or should you be breathing? Now, you do a lot of medicinal work with a lot of people. How many of them don't breathe right?
Yeah.
Right? That's one thing that if we just started fixing, that alone helps. So for a moment, sit up and uncross your legs and close your eyes. And imagine you are not breathing. Rather, imagine that you are being breathed. You are not inhaling, God is blowing the breath into you. You are not exhaling, God is taking the breath from you. Just relax. You are lekabel. You are Kabbalah. You are receiving. And then from that place, try and find the moment where God's breath, which is outside of you, becomes yours. So when you exhale, that was your breath you exhaled. We all know that. If you had garlic pizza, we all know. But at one point, the breath is not yours, and it becomes yours. Find the moment. Think you found the moment. Find the microsecond. We think you found the microsecond. Find the even smaller moment. It's infinitesimally small point, but allow yourself to be breathed and finding the moment where the breath becomes yours. Now, what we're going to do is a triangle breath. We're going to inhale to a count of 4. We're going to exhale to a count of 4. And then we're going to hold with our lungs empty to a count of 4. Okay? So, inhale, 2, 3, 4. And exhale, 2, 3, 4. And hold it with your lungs empty. 2, 3, 4. Inhale through your nose. 2, 3, 4. Exhale through your mouth. 2, 3, 4. Hold it with your lungs empty. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. And exhale. Hold. Inhale. 2. And exhale. Exhale through your mouth. 2. Hold. Without moving, open your eyes and keep looking straight ahead. Do you notice that your peripheral vision is a little bit broader? You can see a little bit more. Do you notice how your hearing is a little bit more attuned? I'm barely speaking, but you can all hear me totally clearly, can't you? Just with a few breaths. Now, how long did that take? From the time you closed your eyes when we started focusing on receiving breath until the time you just opened your eyes?
I don't know.
Well, we started at 8:25, so it was about 4 minutes from the time you first closed your eyes. How did that feel to you? There's no right or wrong. How did that feel?
And
I-
more, well, go ahead.
I've done this a lot, but it's really hard for me to hold my breath that long.
With your lungs empty?
Yeah.
Why would it be hard for us to hold our breath with our lungs empty? Yet it's easy for a baby and it's easy when someone's dying. Let's think about this for a minute. When you get scared, when someone gets scared, what do? Holding our breath with our lungs full is the physiology of being in fear. Holding our breath with our lungs empty is the physiology of being in faith.
Hmm.
Right? Think about it. I don't mind having my lungs empty. And when you do this long enough and you do it, you find that's the best place. And you end up, instead of having a triangle that's 4, 4, and 4, or 7, 7, 7, it might be 4, 4, and 20. Because that place is where you float. But our mind, based in fear, because this culture is entirely based in fear, says, I can't breathe. I need my next breath. That makes sense? I don't know how big fear is a part of your life, but that's in the deep place.
It's interesting.
Okay.
I'm not conscious of it at that time, but I'll think about that.
Ed, you were going to say something
When?
just now before she did.
That's right. I just feel more relaxed than I have in about a week. That's all I can say.
With just a few breaths.
Yeah. Really relaxed.
I felt like I was suffocating.
Again, the same place when you're
And no matter how deep I breathed after holding my breath with my lungs empty, I felt that I'd never catch up again.
so you're not exhaling. Even again, based in fear, I'm holding on to it because I don't want to let go of it. Because I don't know if I can get more. If you don't exhale all the way out, what happens?
And that it's not room for the good air to come back in.
And so what happens? There's a term for it.
Hypoxia.
Hyperventilate,
Okay.
right?
All right.
Panic attack,
Okay.
right? When someone's in a panic attack,
It
what do they?
would become a panic attack if we'd gone for another 3 minutes. Yes.
Right, you go,
Mhm.
and you can't breathe because you can't. If you haven't emptied the space, if you don't make the, remember, our job is to make the sacred space, to create the space so God can fill it in. It becomes an entirely different mindset, doesn't it? It's a reframing of our entire concept of life and breath. When we are born, God blows the Nishmat Chaim, the breath of life, into us. When we die, God takes the breath of life from us. And everything in between is a moment of mouth to mouth. If you don't exhale fully, you'll never catch up, right? Because each time you breathe, you're getting less and less oxygen, right?
Right.
So the natural reaction for many people, most people, I think, probably who grow up in Western culture is, I don't exhale ever fully. Okay? I exhale a lot of my lungs, but I never exhale all the way out. There's this great massage technique. Who's ever heard? Have any of you ever heard of a place called Two Bunch Palms?
Yeah.
Okay. Two Bunch Palms is outside of Palm Springs. It actually was Al Capone's desert hideaway. It's now a resort. They have mineral springs and they have their swimming pool. They re-empty and fill every morning at 4:00 in the morning, and it's a mineral springs pool, so it's already at 90 degrees or whatever. It's cooled down from the jacuzzi, which is like 110 degrees, and they have all these pools. And they have I'm sure it's other places too, but they have a massage technique that they have therapists there that do called Watsu, which is shiatsu in water. Okay. And what they do is the therapist, you're in these mineral waters, so you're very light. Right? And the therapist is moving your body to make you inhale and putting you underwater as he makes your body exhale. And then he brings you back up to inhale, and then he brings you back. And if you totally surrender to the therapist, you get high as a kite. It is an amazing experience. On the other hand, if you choose to be, he's not going to let me breathe. Now, he's aware of your body, right? So you have to totally have faith that he's going to make you breathe, right? If I go like this, I'm going to breathe. And if I go like this, right? So if you are willing to totally surrender, it's an amazing experience. Otherwise, you do what you just went through. It's like, I got to, not going to blow my air because he's not going to, I don't trust he's going to give me breath. I don't know. Let me out. Okay. Amazing. Let me phrase that. I found it amazing. Allison didn't like it at all. Okay. But it's do you understand the point of it? So if you don't exhale fully, then you can't create the space to be blown into. But that means putting faith in God. If I'm not breathing, God is blowing into me. And that is an entirely 180-degree reframing, isn't it? Yeah.
I may suggest part of what they're feeling too when they can't hold their breath is a possibility of not quite properly breathing. And if you want to practice how to do that, lay down on the floor, lie down on the floor and breathe. You cannot breathe improperly if you're lying on your back on the floor. You'll breathe just like a baby, and babies breathe perfectly.
And they have that long
You
extension.
get this long extension and you fill from the bottom up and then you release. If you're not filling from the bottom up and taking in the air that's available, then when you breathe out, you can breathe out less or more or anything. You're just not getting enough oxygen to be able to hold your breath on the in-breath. So
So you just
try
got
it.
you
Lie
just
down
got to
on your
release it.
back and breathe. You
And it's
can't-
even better if you put something under your back to open.
I have found, yes, but I found just straight is fine. And babies breathe properly, they're lying on their back. So
It's just a choice, though,
Yeah.
of breathing and letting go. So let's do it again. Take off our glasses. Take off our watches.
if your shoulders are moving, then you're not breathing properly.
And one way to look if you're breathing, filling up the bottom first, your belly comes out.
Mhm.
Right. So if I'm breathing wrong, if I'm breathing, and I don't want to say wrong, if I'm breathing and not filling, I'm going to go. I've only got this part of my lungs with air. Right. If I'm breathing correctly, I'm going. Right. I did this one out first. Okay. Buddha belly. Okay. So let's again sit up straight, close our eyes, just relax and find. It's a nice way to segue into it. Find a place where you realize you're not breathing. God is blowing into you. And we'll always do that. We're going to inhale through our nose and exhale through our mouth. Find the moment the breath becomes yours. Again, a nice way to segue into it. Very slowly. Just relax. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3. Exhale through your mouth. 4. And hold it. You're going to get breath. Don't worry. It'll come out. And inhale. Bring up the bottom part. 3, 4. And blow it out. Blow it hard. 2, 3, 4. And exhale. And hold it. Let it all out. Breath is going to come. Don't worry. Inhale. And exhale. And hold. Inhale. And exhale. Blow it out hard, all the way out. There'll be plenty of breath when you need it. And hold it. 3, 4. And inhale. Blow the bottom part first. And exhale. Blow it all the way out. Blow it all the way out hard. And hold. You're going to inhale and fill up the bottom part of your lungs first. And inhale. Move your belly out. And exhale. Blow it out all the way out. And hold it. Open your eyes. How do you feel? How's the perception levels? How's your perception levels?
Right?
How are you doing? A little bit.
Because everything's really bright.
Okay. So now look at something. Let's say that breathing technique, and we know that if you do if you do it for something for 12 minutes a day, twice a day, you can only do it once a day, it changes your entire composition. So if you play guitar or violin, right? And you get a new string, you tune it, and very quickly it goes out of tune. You tune it again, it stays a little longer in tune, and then it goes out of tune. After you've been playing for a while, you don't have to tune your violin again. It basically just stays in tune, right? As we tune ourselves up, then we stay in tune longer, not just during those 12 minutes. And so if you do that every day, it will change how you are in the world. I can only show doorways. I can't make anyone do anything. It is a constant, it's a constant pattern. Wow, these high holidays were so amazing. I've never had an experience like that. I'm going to get involved in the temple and I see him next Rosh Hashanah. Right? Or, wow, this is amazing. My colors were brighter. And next week, did we do it? How many of you did it 12 minutes a day? Oh, I meant to. Oh, I forgot. Right? You do that as what you do all the time, right? People say they're going to do something and then they, best of intentions. If we just make those little shifts, just that breathing, which you can do anytime, anywhere, in the car, anywhere, everywhere, right? Until breathing that way becomes a natural form of how you breathe. At that point, everything starts to be kind of changing. You become more aware of everything in the world and of the unification of God. Does that make sense to everybody? Now, let me ask you another question or point out something. Let's just, for argument's sake, say that just those few little breaths increased your perception by 10%. Is that a fair statement? Colors were 10% brighter, your peripheral vision was 10% larger, you could hear sound 10% better. Is that fair? Just 10%. That doesn't sound like a lot, does it? 10% is the difference between someone batting 300 and 330. Someone who's good and someone who's an all-star. It's between someone throwing a 90-mile-an-hour pitch and a 100-mile-an-hour pitch. Right? 10% to increase our performance in anything we do by only 10% is a huge increase, isn't it? Right? And that's really an important piece in this as well. So to excel, this is a way of excelling in whatever you do in life. And that includes joy, feelings, the intensity of life. We ignore so many beautiful, subtle things we don't notice. Well, if you could be aware of 10% more of the beauty in your life each day, how much happier would you be? Right? How much more joyous would you be? Just 10%. So if you had an investment that was paying off at 10% every 3 months, boy, that would be good.
It's
Wouldn't
huge.
it? Even 10% a year is considered huge, right? It means you double your money in 7 years, right? It's considered a very solid investment, isn't it? Okay. This is the norm, the standard becomes higher. You're larger, more expansive. And that all relates to understanding how each of those places are. Now, we're going to go more into this next week, but that means that if I want to focus on a specific energy or feeling or part of the body, then to be focusing on awakening that part, how much more healing can it be? There's a woman named Susie Pruden. Has any of you ever heard of Susie Pruden? Susie was very big in the 80s and 90s. She was very big with President's Council on Physical Fitness. She had a whole world. She was one of the pioneers in this world back in the 80s of meta fitness. The idea that when you are working out, you should be focusing on your mind, and your spirit should also be focusing on working out. That there's a qualitative difference to working out and focusing on becoming stronger that way, and working out and reading a book or watching a TV. So, and then she included affirmations and all sorts of them. She built this whole industry around that. And there's a truth to that. If we can allow ourselves to experience God in a different way. Does that make sense? It means receiving breath, life, and everything else as opposed to reaching for it. We create the space to receive it. And that's in everything, isn't it? Isn't that how babies are born? Isn't that how life is started? Isn't that how everything is? You create the space and then it can be filled. Okay? So we can go more into this next week. But where do you see something that you all are aware of, and I know this for a fact, where do you see us doing a different form, but to get into that triangle of reception for the nefesh, the ruach, and the neshama, three aspects of the soul? Because remember, that makes a triangle too, doesn't it? So where do you see that? Your hint is you see it every week. Show me how you light Shabbat candles. Someone show me what you do. How do you light Shabbat candles?
How?
How? What do you do? Show me how you physically what you do when you light Shabbat candles.
Oh, that's why you
Light the
always say to
candles.
put it. Oh no.
No, go on. Say what you're
I
going to say.
think that you light it from one side and you always put it on the other side.
So we are taught that on Shabbat we get a neshama yetera, an extra portion of soul. Okay. So here are the two candles, right? And the extra portion of soul is there, right? So the reason I say it doesn't matter which side, but you put the lighter on the outside. Because these two candles, what do candles do? They illuminate darkness. They illuminate a gateway, just like your yarmulke does. They illuminate a gateway, and 3 times you reach through that gateway to get the extra portion of soul. First for your nefesh, your physical aspect of the soul, your body, your physical world. Next for your mental, emotional aspect of the soul. And then for your neshama. Do you see that there's, when you bury someone who's done a funeral recently, in the last year or two, when you do a funeral, we all place 3 shovels. When everyone's done, you fill it up, and everyone places 3 shovels. Why? The nefesh, the ruach, the neshama. Okay?
We did that wrong. Okay.
No, after everyone does 3, then you keep going.
No, I understand that. No, my stepfather passed away and it was an interesting service anyway, but we all just put 1 shovelful each.
Who was the rabbi?
He was somebody in Las Vegas who name dropped and thought he was entertaining us. I thought he needed a microphone in his hand. He had no concept whatsoever. And the kids, his real children, had a roast in his memory. And
That's okay if they want to do that.
This was great for them, but some people were a little put off by it. They wanted some of the more positive things emphasized.
I have a theory that no one comes to a funeral or a wedding to hear the rabbi pontificate.
He did.
No one is coming for that purpose. So I don't do that.
Anyway, we did 1 shovelful, so for now I know better.
So Krishna would do 3, and then afterwards we actually fill the whole grave and cover the whole casket, because you're tucking them in with the last blankets that will have in this physical world. So all this overlays, doesn't it? How a baby breathes, how someone dying breathes, how we light candles, how we deal with funerals. The 4 + 1, it all overlays. We're just peeling back. This has all been hiding from you in plain sight, hasn't it? Right? It's been there. It's not like I'm giving you new information. Right? I'm not telling you anything you do. Everyone, all of you knew to go like this. What do you think, you're drying your fingernails? Right? Oh, I'm gonna dry my fingernails in the warmth of the candles.
I knew it was something about bringing the spiritual Shabbat in, but not the explanation that you just gave.
It's all right there.
It's close, but
It's all right there.
yeah.
That's to let kabel, to receive. And so we're going to go more into into both the text and processes and teachings next week, as well as other meditation stuff. But now here's your assignment is to do at least once, ideally twice a day for 12 minutes of doing just triangle breathing. And if you fall asleep, you fall asleep. If you're doing it before you go to bed, it doesn't matter.
I have a
Okay.
question
Yeah.
about the absolute doing it. I don't know how the timing goes. Like, no, I understand you telling the time, but 1, 2, 3, but as long as they're all equal,
And they're going to get to their own pace, and they won't always be equal.
okay.
Okay. Like I said, the longer I do it in any particular session of it, the more the pause becomes longer and longer, because I really, that's the great place.
But at least for starters, try to get.
And you can do it to your heart rate.
Okay.
Just do it to your heart rate or set a metronome.
Okay.
Okay. And again, the key is for you to have your experience so that it's not just dogma, because dogma is a waste of time. Just is a waste of time.
Just memorizing passages.
Or it's just memorizing this is that point and that's this point and this, and so this means this energy and this has this color and this has, that's not. The idea is to experience so that it becomes real for you, and so you put it in a place. One more thing, I'm going to show you very quickly, just to give you an idea how everything is related. So, and stop me if I did this, because I don't remember what I've done and what I haven't. Did we talk about kosher meat in God's name? No. Okay.
Kosher meat.
Kosher meat. So here's God's name, right? Right? What part of a cow can you not eat? And why?
That's supposed to heat the hindquarters, I think.
You're not supposed where the sciatica is.
Yeah.
Okay. Why? Because Jacob's hip is wrenched. Right? So we don't eat that when he was wrestling with the angel. You guys remember when we studied that passage? Okay. He's wrestled with the angel. He says, give me a new name. And he has his name changed from Jacob to Israel. Okay. And so you don't have anything from the hip, but here's the other deeper reason. Here's the hip, right? And there's a passage right there for one of the places for flow of God. If I eat meat that's not kosher, that flow can't get in there the same way, can it? Do you guys see that? I'll do it again with something that maybe, hopefully, a better pen. So I'm just going to look at the bottom hay, okay? So the bottom hay, I think I need to go buy more pens. Okay, so the bottom hay, this is not, maybe I just need to clean this thing. So the bottom hay looks like this, right? And that's the idea is there's your legs and that's the hip, right? If God's presence, this gives an extra pathway for God's presence to come in, right? Everyone follow that? Just looking at the letter. Now, if I was eating non-kosher meat, that wouldn't look like that. It would look like that. Right? Because I've closed off, because I'm eating the hip. Now it's a lot harder for God's presence I'm not making the space to be filled. Does that make sense to everybody? So non-kosher meat blocks off your energy. I lost you.
Totally.
Okay, I think I need a better.
So
I think I just need a better pen.
you're saying even if it's not a conscious, or does it have to be a conscious?
Even if it's not conscious, it affects you. If you're not conscious of whether it's a major or minor scale, you're still affected
Right.
by the chords, right? Do we have any other pens, Orlando? Do you know? We just have.
I think I'm okay with the pen. It's just, I'm getting lost with the kosher versus non-kosher.
Okay,
There's
kosher
an
meat.
opening for God to get in there.
Okay, kosher meat. You're not allowed to eat anything that comes from the hind quarter of the sciatica. Okay? Historically, because Jacob wrenches his hip.
Right.
Okay. So if this is what, let me if I look at it
So
differently.
why does the cow's hip affect us?
It's the same concept. Watch. So if, remember, we are what we eat, taking the lead. So this is what someone looks like, right? And everything's fine. But that's very much blocked off, isn't it? When the hip is wrenched, and we don't eat, we're creating a space right there. See that? That's the hip. That's where the hip is, right? Remember the,
Yeah,
okay. Remember, we're looking at that diagram, and we're looking at the bottom hang.
so we're looking at a cow that was butchered kosherly, but we're still not gonna eat that meat because there's a,
Because when we do, we close up that space. Well, you can't have filet mignon. Does that make sense to you?
I
Filet
gotta
mignon
think
comes
about
from
it.
this part of the cow. So it's closing it off. Conversely, if I leave it open, it gives me another place to have God's presence come in easier. God's presence can come anywhere, but it's another place to make it easier. We're creating a simpler space.
So there's spaces up above where we can eat
Correct.
the meat?
Everywhere you can eat the meat. You are allowed to eat the meat from anywhere else.
Why can't you just eat the other leg?
You can eat the leg.
Exactly.
No, I know, but it's
You
not
can't,
kosher.
can't eat this part.
Oh.
Okay, all right, that makes more sense.
Okay.
Sorry.
So
The idea of taking a quarter of it or half a cow and throwing it away and saying it's not kosher was just not.
no. It's just that part where the sciatic is.
Okay,
So that place. So you can't. Although they now you can get a kosher fillet because I guess they by hand take out the sciatica nerve, which is questionable whether it's kosher or not. But they're saying it's a kosher. Some people say it's a kosher filet mignon.
So it's very specific, the muscle where the sciatic goes through.
Where does it go through?
Piriformis.
Right.
Yeah.
I only know that because I know where it hurts when I load out. So interesting stuff. How it all relates, doesn't it?
I just, I always knew that the Shield of David was made, and I thought because he understood that it was the best protection for those areas of the body in wartime. But you brought a whole spiritual thing to it with the triangles.
I didn't bring it.
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't. It was already there. I just pointed it out.
Yeah, I understand.
I didn't bring it. I just pointed it out.
Never heard it before.
Okay. Interestingly, that same symbol in the Yaqui Indian tradition is called the Yaqui Star of Life. Has the same meaning.
They have a star like that?
It's called the Yaqui Star of Life.
But does it look like that?
6-pointed star. So, and it's same meaning.
Maybe they were a lost tribe.
Oh, that's a long conversation I used to have with Anselmo. I would say, the Yaqui are actually the lost Hebrews, and he would say, no, Michael.
Another
The
coincidence.
No, he would say, no. The Jews are the lost Yaqui.
Another
'Cause-
interesting tidbit about the Mayan in Mexico. That name means people of the water. And what's the Hebrew word for rain?
It's Mayim is water.
Mayan, yeah.
And Yaqui is actually not the name of the Yaqui tribe, which is from Mexico.
Yeah.
The name of the tribe, the name of the people is Yomem. But when the Spaniards came, they heard one word repeated over and over, and that word was a name for God. One of their words named for God, which was Yahweh, and that became Yaqui.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously?
Yep.
Wow.
And I can, and given that I was taught that by the chief of the Yaqui, who was my friend, of blessed memory, I'm pretty sure of my sources.
Wow.
They are a lost tribe. What do you know?
No, he's very clear. He was very clear that we're the lost Hebrews. Actually, his other great line was that they have something called the Tsurim, which are the little people, and they live in the forests and the trees. And he would say, and the teaching is that they knew the white man was coming, and so the Great Spirit spoke, the Creator spoke through a talking tree and said, you need to eat meat to grow big. And so the deer laid down its life, and that made them grow big. But some of the Yaqui stayed small, as little people. And they went under the big ocean, and they came up in Ireland, where they popped up and they saw a naked Irish girl bathing in the water. And so they said leprechaun, which is Yaki for look, naked girl bathing in water. And they figured that was the name of the people. So that's where leprechauns come from.
Ah,
I
How
had a feeling
cute.
you were set.
He was,